In this section, we are going to discuss about the practical examples of supervised learning. In the previous lectures, we discussed a lot about what is supervised learning and how it is different from other forms of learning. In fact, we also try to understand how the supervised learning works. Here we will discuss about practical examples of supervised learning, which will give you a fair idea of how supervised learning can be implemented in the market. Let's take the first example, the hospital bed allocation. It is a very common problem in the hospitals when there are limited berths, that is the beds that are available. How can you ensure that the right patient gets the bed in the ICU when there are so many people waiting for the bed in the ICU? In this case, supervised machine learning can help you out. Let's take this scenario. There is an emergency room in a hospital which measures 17 variables of newly admitted patients. The variables can be like blood pressure, age, gender, then kind of job. There can be many variables that can be considered, mostly medical report variables, that is data that you can get from the medical reports. Now with all these variables, a decision is needed whether to put a new patient in an intensive care unit or not. Due to the high cost of ICU, those patients who may survive less than a month are given high priority. That is, if you believe that if the person is having critical illness and he has to be put into ICU, intensive care unit, quickly compared to the other patients, then you should ensure that prominence is given to this particular patient and then he is given a bed in the ICU. Now, what is the problem? How can you identify which patient carries high risk? And how can you discriminate them from the low risk patients? This is the exact problem statement in an hospital. Now, in this example, you can actually think of using these 17 variables that you are collecting, and you can see a pattern from these 17 variables and understand what kind of patients are actually surviving in an ICU when they are given a bed, and what kind of patients will be able to survive longer before getting a bed in the ICU. So depending on the patterns that emerge from these 17 data points, you can classify the patients as high risk or low risk. So going by the concept of supervised learning, you actually need the past data. That is, of all the patients who have been admitted in this hospital and of all the patients who have been given a bed in the ICU, you will try to analyze all the data with statistical models and see what kind of patients survive more without a bed in ICU and what kind of patients survive only because of a bed in ICU. These patterns emerge from the past data that you have collated, and with that you are going to fit in the new data that is going to come in. When a new patient comes in, you are going to collect all these 17 variables for that new patient, and you are going to compare it with the model that you have developed with the help of these 17 variables for all the old patients. Now, with the help of the new data that has come in, you will be able to identify which pattern it belongs to. Depending on that, you will categorize the patient as high risk or low risk. Then if it is high risk, you are going to give him a bed in the ICU. If not, you are going to give a bed later in ICU for the patient because he is low risk patient, he can survive outside the ICU. So this is the first example for you to understand how supervised learning approach can be implemented. Now let's take the second example, approving a credit card. So a credit card company receives thousands of applications for new cards. In fact, it is the irony that we all get calls, right? Whether we want a credit card. Now, is there a blind way of giving credit cards to everyone? Once you give in the application form that you are interested to get a credit card, actually the company would ask you to fill a long application form. In the application form, we provide all the information like age, marital status, annual salary, the outstanding debts, credit rating, In fact, you may not be filling the credit rating in the application, but the bank will check your credit rating before they give a credit card to you. So you will collate all such information, and now with the data that is available, the problem statement is very simple. With the data that is available, we should decide whether an application should be approved or not. So you have to classify all the applications that you have received as approved or not approved. The moment I say classification, it becomes a supervised machine learning, isn't it? Because we realize that machine learning has two types, classification, that is supervised machine learning has two types, classification and regression. So this is a typical classification problem. So how do you solve it? Again, you have all these data variables which are needed to identify whether a person should be given a credit card or not, isn't it? Now get all these data points for the previous customers, that is the existing customers. If you're able to collate all these data points, you will be able to find a pattern of people who have been approved earlier and rejected earlier. And now any new application that comes in, you will try to fit into any one of these buckets based on the past data patterns. So if the new data that comes in is able to fit into the data where the credit card has been approved, then that means this new data also will indicate that this person has to be approved with a credit card. If it belongs to the other pattern, that means he is not eligible for a credit card, thereby you will not approve it. So with the help of the past data, which is used for training the model, you are building a model, and that model is used for a new data that comes in, and for that new data you are actually trying to find which pattern it belongs to, thereby you are able to classify it correctly whether the card has to be approved or not. So look at the data that you have got. Age, as job, own house, credit rating, these are the columns. For every credit card application you will collect all this data, and then you are classifying for the past data. Since you know whether it is approved or not, you are clearly putting it in the class yes or no. That is, yes means it is approved, no means it is not approved. So this is a simple data table. Now when a new person is applying for the credit card, you will see a pattern. Okay, if the age is this, if the job is there or not, if there is an own house or not, if the credit rating is good, fair, good, excellent, based on this you will try to fit in whether it is a yes or no class. Thereby you will approve or disapprove it. So this is the example of the loan application. So here the learning task is very simple. You are learning a classification model from the data and using the model to classify future loan applications into yes or no, that is approved or not approved. So let's check if this is the new data that comes in, that is age is young, as job is false, own house is false, credit rating is good. Will you approve it or not? So by looking at this data, what is the inference that you will have? So here we will be able to apply our intelligence. Just by looking at this table, we will be able to come to a conclusion whether he has to be given the credit card or not. Same way, the machine will also try to pick up the intelligence from the data that is available, the training data that is available. That's why we call it as a supervised learning algorithm. So with the training data, you will form a model which is nothing but an intelligent model for the data that is available. With the new data coming in, it will try to apply the intelligence it has gathered from the historical data to solve the problem for the new data. Let's look at one more example for supervised learning. Spam filtering of emails. This is a popular supervised learning example. We all use emails, isn't it? We use Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, etc. Actually, machine learning algorithms are used for deciding which email is spam and which is not. So how do you identify this? We all have this common pattern, right? Whatever mail that comes in, we have the tendency to mark it as spam or not spam. we do it on our own, isn't it? So this is one data point that can be used. So what kind of words that are being used in the subject and in the body, which is making you classify them as spam or not spam. So this is one important learning for the application. The same way, every person, when they are trying to classify a mail as spam or not spam, this will actually be done at the server end for Gmail, let's say. If there are a billion users who are using Gmail and all those people are classifying mails as spam or not spam, over a period of time, Gmail will be able to identify the mails and the corresponding text, that is the words or the phrases used in the mail inbox, to identify which are the words which could be categorized as the spam words. Depending on that, the mails will be categorized as spam or not spam. So it is all about predicting the output. That is, with the billion mails that have been classified as spam and not spam, I'm seeing a pattern. Which one is a spam, which one is not a spam. So when it is marked as a spam, why do you think it is marked as a spam? Is it because of the words like Nigeria, jackpot offer, award won, reward money for you, lottery ticket for you? Such kind of words, if they are being used, is it called as a spam? What exactly is the pattern behind that? This is where the statistical modeling helps. So with the help of the past training data, you're able to build a model, and in that model, when you pass a new email, it will clearly identify whether it is a spam or not a spam. And these predictions may not be perfect, but they learn and they try to become more accurate every time. That is the specialty of supervised learning approach. Let's look at very generic examples. Two pioneers in the field, Tom Mitchell and Michael I. Jordan, they have noted most of the recent progress in machine learning involves mapping from a set of inputs to a set of outputs. So all you're trying to do is, there is input, there is output. How do you map it? How can I find the relationship between the input and the output? Thereby, for any new data that comes in, am I able to use that relationship to find the output? This is the simplest way to define supervised learning systems. And with these examples, you'll be able to understand this in a much better way. Let's say, for example, you are receiving a voice recording and you have the corresponding transcript available as data. Now, what you are trying to do by building a model? You are actually building a speech recognition model. So any voice recording that comes in, you are recognizing the speech and you are giving transcript as an output. So if you have the training data set of voice recordings and transcripts, you will be able to build a speech recognition model in which, when you give a voice recording, it will give a transcript as an output. Same way, look at photograph and caption. So with all the photographs, there are captions. This is considered to be the historical data, and for every photo you have given the right captions. Now with this, I am trying to find a pattern in the historical data. This is nothing but training the data, understanding the training data and building a model out of it. So what is a model you are trying to build here? You are using the image tagging. That is, you are building an image tagging model. Now when a new photograph comes in, this image tagging model will help you to caption it correctly based on the past data. Look at the last example. This is a very popular one. Face and names. How does the facial recognition works? If you have the names and if you have the corresponding faces, this helps the machine to get trained. Now when a new face comes in, the facial recognition application, that is the model that you have built in, will identify the corresponding name. That is, what is this face and which pattern it matches to. Based on the past data, it will identify the label and tell you that, okay, this is the name of the face you are looking for. So this is the missing data which is being predicted with the help of the past data. So this is how supervised learning systems are built. So now let's quickly summarize what we have learned as part of the supervised learning approach. In supervised learning, you train the machine using data which is well labeled. So you have input data, you have the corresponding output which is labeled very clearly. Now this data is being used for building a model, training a model, the model which learns from the past data. That's why we call it as the machine learning. And with this model, you are sharing a new data in, and you're able to predict the output. You want to train a machine which helps you predict how long it will take you to drive home from your workplace is an example of supervised machine learning. There are two types of techniques in supervised machine learning, that is regression and classification. The biggest challenge in supervised learning is that irrelevant input feature present in the training data could give inaccurate results. This is a thumb rule for any computer for that matter. Garbage in, garbage out. If your data is bad, your output will be bad. Because only from the data we are trying to find patterns and build a model. Then the output cannot be of good quality, right? If the input is not good. The main advantage of supervised learning is that it allows you to collect data or produce a data output from the previous experience. The biggest drawback of this model is that decision boundary might be overstrained if your training set doesn't have examples that you want to have in a class. So this is based on our fundamental assumption of machine learning. The sample should be a representative of the population. If you have a very good sample which represents all the classes, then it is easier for you to get a quality output. If not, your training set with poor classes will result in poor quality output for the new data that comes in. As a best practice of supervised learning, you first need to decide what kind of data should be used as a training set. From my practical industry experience, I can tell you that getting the training data set is the biggest challenge. Either the data is not available, or even if it is available, the quality of the data is very poor. This actually results in very poor accuracy of the machine learning models that are built in. But the client never agrees when he sees a poor accurate model. The client never accepts that the problem lies on their data, the lies with their quality of the data. But that's how the machine learning models learn and evolve. With new data coming in over a period of time, when you have more data and more number of columns, more number of data points to consider to build a model, the model output will be much better. I hope you have learned something new and you have understood the basic concepts of supervised machine learning approach. How it works, what are the practical applications of it. Thank you very much for your time.